away from home, and after the first 10-15 minutes I think we dominated pretty much the whole game. We pressed them high, we were winning the second balls, and exactly what we're good at really. We were high energy and we created a lot of chances. I think we should have probably been 2 or 3 goals up at half time, so much better than last week, and that's probably set the standard now for us to go on and kick on away from home. I think just the personnel on the pitch today helped us. We had a lot of energy and we had runners in behind their back line. I just don't think they could deal with our runners from midfield, and obviously Lukey was outstanding bringing everyone into play.
Ollie Clarke's thunder strike got the Stags up and running and eventually off the mark away from home. But was there a sly dig from the Mansfield skipper towards his manager, who doesn't seem to pick him too often? Oh, and a certain Nathan Edge. How is that cliff top treating you, pal? Coming up tonight on the Mansfield Matters in-person podcast, yes, we really are mixing things up. We'll serve Nathan a slice of humble pie as we evaluate a real captain's display at Donny. We'll take on the keyboard warriors and heap praise on a fine display from Lucas Akins. And as it's the first time we've got together since the transfer window left us empty-handed, we'll delve a little more into the squad and why those who stayed up refreshing Twitter needn't have really bothered. As always, we'll have your comments, questions and opinions in the live feed too on the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast, and as it's in person for the first time in such a long time, place your bets now on who's going to have a mouthful of biscuit. It's probably going to be me, isn't it?
Well, it very nearly was me, to be fair. With 30 seconds to go before we started the show, I did have a mouthful of Twix. Good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters podcast, the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. As always, come and get involved in the show and have your say on your team. Joining me tonight, I don't need to change buttons and press buttons and go round now because we're all in one place. Well, sort of, but we'll come on to the sort of later on. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. How are you?
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everybody. I'm very well, thank you.
Good evening, Clive. How are you?
Hello, Craig. Hello, everybody. I'm tickety-boo, thank you.
And got something for you, mate. I mean, it's not quite humble pie. Turkish delight I'll have to do. Nathan Edge, you all right?
I'm very well. I mean, first of all, I'll just say you're welcome, everyone. You know, I've been working on this for over a year.
Here we go.
To wind him up a little bit, like I did Jordan Bowery. Who, you know, you're welcome.
Did you do that to Jordan Bowery? I can't remember you doing it to Macca.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Macca. Jordan Bowery was next, but he booked his ideals before I got there. But yeah, Macca, I did it for him. So yeah, well, that goal on Saturday, I get an assist.
I don't quite think you do. Well, you definitely don't get any points in the prediction league. Let's switch over to Rotherham, aka Cam. Has he fixed his internet?
I think so.
Hey, how are you? Okay.
I'm good. I'm really good, actually. Yeah, it's been a fun week. Big win for us on Saturday. Nice little away day. 25 minutes to get home for me and a friend of mine. So lovely. Nice little day out. I think we left Sheffield at about 1 o'clock. It's brilliant.
Happy days. As long as you had a nice time, that's all that matters. Yeah, why aren't you here? Why aren't you joining in? We've got tea. Clive's brought an array of assortments, some mini rolls, some Turkish delight, some Twixers, got some chocolate biscuits. What have you got? Could I take that as nothing? Oh, it worked so well. I don't know what happened.
We had no problem before we went live.
Yeah, absolutely fine before we went live. Thanks for your contribution, Cam. See you later. If it doesn't work later, we'll give you all the ads.
For me. Oh, it's working. I can see you and I can hear you.
I don't know what's going off. At
one point in this series, it might actually work.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what might happen. We might bring him in a bit and get him involved. We'll throw to you at some points. Just don't move. I think that's probably the you have now. You didn't have before, but there you go. Right, come on then. Whilst you've got full bars, what was your take on the Doncaster game?
Brilliant. I think obviously it's improvement from last year. We've not conceded 3. We've only conceded 2. Sorry, not conceded. We've only conceded 1, but I think just in general we played better. Obviously, it took us being a goal down in the FA Cup game back in December to wake up and actually do something in the second half. And in general, all ball across the entire game, maybe 10, 15 minutes, if that, we were on the ball and we were pressing, and it was good to watch because last week at Sun and we'd got no presence on the pitch, no one closing down, none of anything. So to go from that, and I'll give you a guess what changed the entire side, because they played against Stockport and Wimbledon, but they got dropped against Sutton, and they came back, and then look, brilliant win.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about, like you said, Alan, before, isn't it? The spine of that midfield. You know, it's almost like when you're messing about in a science lab and then you hit upon something genius. Ollie Clarke, George Maris. You know, it's the winning formula.
I've been saying it for long enough on the podcast and various other places, Craig. Get the spine of the team right, and everything else will look after itself. It got players playing in their right positions. Akins. People say they thought he was the man of the match. I thought Maris just shaded it, to be honest. But we got them proper players, proper positions. Lapsley running all over the place, feeding off Akins like he does. Perfect.
And Clive, it was a stark contrast, wasn't it, to the previous trip that we'd had?
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't imagine it was the same team turning out a week later. I mean, we bossed that game at Doncaster. We were never in it in Sutton. I mean, we had 10 minutes perhaps.
Nigel Clough thought we were.
Well, you know what Nigel's like. But the reality is, we scored a goal, about 3 or 4 minutes either side of it, we seemed to be in the game. But beyond that, we never looked like we were going to take anything back from that game. At Doncaster, from the moment we kicked off, I thought we were bossed that game.
Personally, I preferred last season's performance at Doncaster. Nathan, what about you?
No, this one clearly wins. You know, one like Cam said, it's one less goal, and 2 I was there, so it was by far the better game. But
are you trying to say not only are you doing reverse psychology on Ollie Clarke, that you're the missing link, because it was also your first away game of the season, wasn't it?
I feel like it wasn't. I can't remember now. Who we played?
Salford.
Yeah, I went there, unfortunately.
So does Salford really count? Because that wasn't even August, was it? It was almost like an additional pre-season.
Yeah, it's basically
friendly.
a pre-season, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I'm just saying it was better than last year, really. That's a secret. But the reverse psychology, I'll start charging for that service soon. But no, to be fair, I'm gutted I missed it last year still, but that was still I think it was like the perfect fixture at the perfect time for us right now, to finally get that away win. It was that sort of fixture where you're taking a lot of fans. We were probably, I mean, the odds were still in our favour. We were still favourites for some reason, but from my point of view, I felt like we were more the underdogs. Obviously, they hadn't lost, and we were going there on a terrible away form. So we had, in a fashion, nothing to lose, But we went out there and, like you said, players in the right position, and Ollie Clarke, Akins, and to name a few others, played a completely different game to what they have done previously. So, no, it's just exactly what we needed, and we just need to build on that into Saturday.
Cam, are you buying this absolute crap that Nathan's peddling week upon week, year upon year? Throw Ollie Clarke off a cliff.
Can anybody
good enough to Stephen McLaughlin?
Yeah, can anybody? Mate, it's just coming back to bite you week on 1 week, and Stephen McLaughlin is probably the best player in our team in general. But
I've been backing him for a while now. There's no issues there, but we'll see where we are.
Yeah,
with
but
Clarke
the point still stands. You still badmouthed him on the podcast.
I do not. Come on,
I've
been a fan of him for a
video
while.
proof somewhere.
What a player!
Anyway.
Cam, I'm going to give you a job, because I've realised in doing this, in accommodating you, we're having to look at a screen which is far too small. I can't even read the comments that are coming in. It's just a blur to me, and I have got new glasses as well. You can see this. You can see the comments. Fire us few through that are Mansfield related, if you don't mind, please.
John Savage says, "Hi, Craig and the guys. You're all well." Tim says, "Good evening." John Savage says, in relation to me, must be having negativity from Chesterfield. No, different club. We're a different club now. Craig Patrick on YouTube says, every week it's all about poor Wi-Fi. You up on dial-up 19 1995. I can
Do you live in
confirm
Rotherham?
the hamster ran away from me, so he's back on his wheel and it's working again. John Savage says testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, lol.
Any
Glyn
comments
Spot
about
says-
actual? Well, stop. Hang on. Any comments about actual football rather
Right,
than your crap Wi-Fi? Can we get to them?
Glyn says Ollie and the two judges are the key, even when Boateng's back fit. John says it's a game of two halves, as a famous man once said. And he also John also says, "Lol, can't love you." Cheers.
Again, read the remit talk about football. Nobody wants to give you praise.
That's all let's get your comments down below. Talk about Donny. It was a fantastic day, fantastic weather, and 3 points. Plenty to talk about.
There was a good point that you mentioned in there, one of the comments, Alan. There was talk about Hiram Boateng, obviously the two Georges, Ollie Clarke. Hiram Boateng, one of many players that seem to be out injured at the moment. I don't quite know what's going off at the minute, but there is sort of an injury glut. He's going to find it difficult to force his way back in, because not only have you got, the two Georges and Nathan's favourite player, but you've also got Anthony Hartigan, who since he's come in has, for me, done really, really well and staked to claim. We never needed him, but he's done well and fought for a shirt.
And long may it continue. I'm on about the Georges and Ollie, not Boateng being out, because he's just going to have to bide his time. Other players have done it. They've sat on the bench, they've waited, they've bowed the time, and they've come on and played a part, which I'm sure Boateng will do, leading up right to the end of the season when he's fit. But while ever they're playing, don't change a winning team unless you have to, like he did with Hewitt. Hewitt came off. He was really ill, wasn't he? Being really poorly in the toilets, being sick and whatever. He probably got the bug from the others. Harbottle came on and did a fantastic job. So just leave it as it is.
Says a lot, though, doesn't it?
Sorry. Don't forget, add it into the mix. We've still got no Stephen Quinn. He was on the bench on Saturday, so add that into the equation, and you've got Clarke, Maris, and Lapsley all playing out of their skin. Hartigan's had a good game, and keeping players like that out, it's good. We've gone from not having enough players under certain managers and not having a plan B to probably maybe a few too many players, and probably still not enough plans, but you never know.
Can I just say, though, Craig, did we actually miss Quinn? All the forays that Macca had going forward and how good he looked. I don't think we're particularly... I'm not saying anything against Quinn. I love the bloke. But we didn't miss him on Saturday, I didn't think.
No, I think last season Quinn was our talisman. In fact, the coin the phrase "no Quinn, no win." It was fairly accurate for a good chunk of the season. We didn't miss him on Saturday. And I think, given his age and given the form of the other midfielders, he's going to struggle to get back in the side. But a really cracking bloke to have on your bench anyway.
Yeah, Nathan, I think it's an interesting one with Quinn, isn't it? Because like Clive said, no Quinn, no win last season, and he's barely featured this year. And Nigel Clough sort of hinted that he wouldn't too much, but I didn't expect his omission to be so early doors.
No, but like says, he had a bit of a knock or anything like that. So we'll have to wait and see what he does for us. It's a bit like Neil Bishop, isn't it? You remember under Dave, he had a really great season, and the season after his last season, he wasn't quite up to speed. Whether it's the age factor or whatever, but he was still productive, but more so from the bench or playing a few less minutes. But the good thing is we are so strong in that position. We've known that from the start, really, haven't we, since the start of the season? So it's by far our strongest position. My worry is, I don't know if it's a worry as such, but Nigel Clough's got a tough task of keeping them all happy when it comes to if they're all back at the same time, all in one go and over injuries, because you've got a lot of players there that want to play, and you've also, he does seem to sometimes try and want to keep his favourites, doesn't he, on the pitch, aka putting Aikens right back and things like that. So playing players out of position, is he going to then try and accommodate certain players when they come back, and are we going to lose this sort of strong midfield that we've got at the moment? So we'll have to wait and see with that one. But at the moment, we seem to be handling the missing players pretty good.
That's going to be a real test of his managerial characteristics, isn't it, Cam? To keep those players happy and chomping at the bit to be ready when they come in.
Yeah, and also like Roy's asking the question in the comments. The big question is, will he change it now that we've won? I don't see the point. It was a very good all-round team performance. I don't really think, other than maybe him being a little bit sloppy in the opening minutes of the second half when Doncaster hit the post, but I don't really think they troubled us particularly all day. The penalty came out of absolutely nothing. Maybe Perchie being a bit daft and a bit rash, but I wouldn't say that's a reason to particularly drop him, but because he's been playing well. And then same as like, is Hewitt going to get back in the side because Harbottle did well on Saturday? I don't see the point. There's no point in keep chopping and changing. I think those that are coming back in from injuries, I think are just going to have to wait their turn, because how can you say to Boateng, yes, he might be on paper probably the best midfielder that we've got, but how do you say to someone like George Maris, George Lapsley and Ollie Clarke that they're going to be dropped because they were...
Hang on. Nathan, you know what to say to Ollie Clarke, don't you?
Deserved captain.
I didn't know whether he'd take the bait or not. Carry on, Cam.
But yeah, what's the point in changing something if it's broken? And then Richard in the comments also said, do you think of midfield diamond of Maris, Clarke and Boateng and Lapsley is the best moving forward?
That's an interesting one to sort of try and get your head around, because that goes completely against the system which Nigel Clough is trying to implement. It's an interesting one to try and digest. Maybe we will later on the show, but before we do that, it's time for my brand new favourite feature, Alan. Ready for this? Comments with Cam.
Oh, in the comments, Kerry on Facebook says, if it's working, don't change
Oh,
it.
hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Can we just appreciate my improvising skills there?
You literally just stole it off blankety blank. So
Blankety blank.
Well, you can. Oh, no.
You could blank off. Anyway, more comments. Craig has also said, fantastic away day at Donny. Crowd was awesome. 3 goals away from home and such a tough decision for man of the match. Maris, Clarke, Lapsley, Akins, all awesome. Ollie Clarke has been brilliant, has been great recently, and I'm eating humble pie too, as I'm not a massive fan.
shocking.
Adam says, last year, life without Quinn was unthinkable. This year, he's not even making the starting lineup. Tim says Quinn was getting ratty again last week, a soft yellow for Hawkins. Is it necessary? And Kerry also says it was Oates there on Saturday too at Doncaster. I didn't particularly see him, but anybody else see Mr. Oates on Saturday?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't see him, but I saw the photo with the young fan.
Oh, fair enough. And then Tim in the comments also says, with 5 possible subs, it should be easier for Cloughie to keep everyone happy and getting some game time. And then Kerry's also said, Lapsley is amazing and always brings action and makes a difference. 5 subs. It's a fair comment. I think going back to trying to keep everybody happy, yeah, I think when we were looking leggy last season, before they made the 5 subs change, I think Clough was very stuck in his mind on what he actually wants to do, by the virtue that he got the options on the bench. I think this season is exactly the same. Once everybody's fully fit, yes, you'll have probably a pretty set in stone starting lineup, but those 5 subs, surely it makes it a lot easier for Clough to manage his players. Even if someone's looking a little bit leggy at half time, what's the harm in bringing them off? You've then got 4 other subs to use.
Yeah, I think you have. And I'm going to say this now, and I've said it numerous times before as well. We would have got promotion last season if you could have used 5 subs, because the impact that the extra 2 has on you is immense. Let's go back a little bit to
if we'd have got 5 subs at the end of last season, Ollie Hawkins would have been straight off as soon as he got booked in that playoff final.
Like I said, we'd have got promoted. Let's not talk about the playoff final. Still emotionally hurt by it. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. Alan, let's go back to the Doncaster game. I've got a quick question for you though. Are you all right now? No one's going to come along and nick your seat. Now, are you okay? You settled?
Yeah, I'm all right after 85 minutes.
No, in all seriousness though, we said it, didn't we, on the podcast before? Impact of the big crowd. We sort of saw it click last season, ironically, at Doncaster, where there was a good away following. No surprise, really, that it did again, because like Ollie Clarke said in his post-match interview, and Andy Garner said as well, we managed to replicate our home form. And I think a big part of that was down to the supporters, the majority of which behaved.
Yeah, well, it just gets bums off seats. When they start shouting and roping and singing all the songs and whatever. It was similar to a home match, but Mansfield deserved that because they started reasonably well, and you could see the passing and moving, and it was as if they were at home. And of course, once they got that goal, and especially the goal that it just sent them into euphoria, and it was just a good day after that.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I think getting that opening goal, Clive, was probably pivotal. Had we gone in at 0-0, it might have been a little bit nervy at half-time. Obviously, we did go in level anyway, but we played so well, it gave a lot of the supporters heart. And my worry was, going into it, because of the way we performed away from home with bigger numbers following us, that it could have turned quite toxic had things not gone our way early doors.
No, I think the difference was the team was pretty much galvanised on at Doncaster. I think the important thing was the goal that we scored first was a worldie, and I think that made everybody so much more upbeat. It wouldn't crawl over the line; it was a proper goal, and I think we had one that sort of tumbled in and tumbled out that was disallowed. Let's also remember Pim pulled off a worldie of a save. It was a cracking shot by that. I don't know which player it was that shot, but it was a really good shot. It was destined for the goal. And now a 4-foot tall goalkeeper got up to 8 foot and put it over the bar. So he's got to be the first name on the team sheet. The 3 midfielders have already mentioned. And I think the big question going forward, actually, and the question is still there after the good win at Doncaster, is who do you play up front? Because obviously if Oates is fit, you'd want him to be in the side. Having said that, I'm going to be one of those people that says he hasn't been playing that well before he got injured compared to how we had been.
No, he hadn't at all. Absolutely. He was a completely different player when he came back from his injury. He wasn't ready, I don't think.
And I suppose that under those circumstances, you've got to look at a different way of doing it. Now, we don't play with a number 9 anyway. Akins is not a striker per se, but he had a tremendous game, and I'm really pleased that he got the man of the match award. I know there were other people worthy of it, but I think he's had 2 good games consecutively now, and got a bit of the monkey off his back as well from some fans, I think, as a result of that. But we've got a midfield that's got goals in it, and therefore you don't actually need a 20-goal striker if they can play as well as they do. That leaves you with, do you play Gale as a striker? He's not really had much of a chance so far. I don't know. I think this is going to be an interesting development this year, is how do we lead the attack? We've got plenty in the powerhouse in the middle of the park. Do we change anything up front? I know people wanted us to recruit a striker in the window. That didn't happen. I'm not so sure we need one. That's my view on it.
No, well, let's delve more into that, Nathan. Let's get your views on it. Lucas Akins, for me, I thought he had one of his best games in the Mansfield shirt away at Doncaster, and a lot of that came from being in a little bit more of a free role up top. He drifted out wide at times and created. He obviously had balls of steel to take the penalty as well. I think that was a big thing mentally for him too. Thought it was a good all-round performance. And if he continues on that vein of form, he will quickly go from the player which the Nathan Edges of this world want to throw off cliffs into the player that the Nathan Edges of this world want to take out on a date.
Well, yeah, it's that reverse psychology, isn't it? I know they'll be watching this tonight, so, but it was a much better performance. This is what a lot of people have been crying out for, though, at least to try him in his favourite position. Because when you think, even since he joined the club, how many times has he actually played in that position? It's you probably count it on one hand, couldn't you? So he's been given that opportunity. It's mainly down to injuries, but I think we've seen a bit more of the Akins that we thought we signed. Do I think he's going to go and get plenty of goals and be our top scorer? No, but it doesn't mean he shouldn't be in that striker position, because he can create, and with his movement he can bring other players into it. And like Clive was saying, if we know we've got somebody who or a couple of players who are there that can keep the ball up there when it goes up to them, even if Hawkins has a spell there as well, and the more of the hold up players, throw Bauer into that mix too, then your midfielders are going to have more confidence to get up there, get higher off the pitch, and contribute with the goals. When, like we saw, another two midfielders scored on on Saturday. So as long as they keep contributing, we haven't got necessarily a crisis on our hands. It's if we lose any more, really, that's probably the issue.
Yeah, I think losing more is the worry. I think we're borderline. I don't think we needed to bring anybody in the window. We'll perhaps touch upon that a little bit later on. Let's stay with Akins for a second, though, Cam. And like we were sort of talking about a little bit there, he's not going to go out and get you 30 goals a season. He's never going to be that type of player. And when he first signed, I think his name was touted about, wasn't it, for transfer window after transfer window ever since Clough came in. And I said, I'm not quite sure about him because he doesn't have, the goals to game ratio, which you necessarily associate with a striker. But having seen him play, again, I completely hold my hands up and apologise, because he's the type of player that does get you goals, and he is the type of player that will create goals for your midfield. And I think that was absolutely evident on Saturday afternoon. If you can continue to do that, we might not have a top scorer who finishes with 15 to 18 goals, but we'll have multiple that are on 8 to 12 goals. And for me, I know I'm never any good at maths, but multiples is better than a singular, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think...
Ish.
It's a fair point. I don't think anybody thought that Akins was going to be this 20, 30 goal striker that you'd expect in League Two, but it's more of a point of his hold-up play and his all-around physicality is what makes him so dangerous. You just look at the second goal, for example. He gets the ball, he drives it forward, he cuts back inside, he squares it to Lapsley, who sets it up for Marius, and who finishes it one time into the back of the net. It was a very, very good team goal. And I think with Akins, you need to play him with somebody that's going to get further up the field. So someone like George Marius in behind him as that number 9 as such, it's quite effective. And then saying you've got to be having someone to back up Lapsley. And it's just, everyone's got to be sort of like pitching into the same idea. And I think Akins definitely can't do it on his own, but point proven Saturday, you're playing with the right players and you play him in the right style, it gets you goals and he's dangerous. And like Craig says in the comments, Akins does a lot of the dirty work. Yeah, like running after balls, closing it down, but then just when the ball's lumped forward from the defence or the keepers, just to get rid or trying to build or whatever, he can just bring it down, he can control it, he can...
I disagree with that.
He can wait for players to come to him and he can have that support there. And I just think that maybe because we've not seen Akins in his natural position as a striker, we've not been able to understand, appreciate, or see the quality that he actually is able to bring to the side.
You need to sort out his first touch. That's the only thing that's what lets him down the most, is his first touch. And when you think of games like Saturday, we were confident and in the ascendancy for the majority of the game, so that's great. The question mark comes in, and for him, I think, is when we're not playing so great and you haven't got the midfielders coming up with you. That when he does have to hold it up, especially for another caution, things like that. That's where the question marks come in. For me, where you need a good first touch to settle things down a little bit. But I think our management staff are even aware of that, because I remember an interview last season, Clough saying he was shattered, but he will, because every time he touches the ball, he has to run about a mile to get it back. So basically, referring to his first touch. So they know that, but obviously what the other work he puts in outweighs that first touch. So if he could get that better, we'd have a much better player on our hands.
Yeah, I think it's just about giving him that consistent run now, Alan, isn't it? And that is stay up top, and what we'll do, rather than picking 11 players and then seeing where Akins slots in, let's put Akins there first in that striker position, in that forward position, and build it around him.
Well, there are two things I particularly noticed about Akins on Saturday. He had a bad foul against him, earlier on in the half, and he was struggling for quite a while. And there were people, that were sat at back of us saying that, take him off, get Swanee on because he's not fit. But he persevered, he carried on.
Mate,
and
sorry to interrupt. Those two people sat behind us were still saying take him off after he'd scored and set a goal up.
But the thing is, confidence lifted as soon as he picked that ball up for the penalty and actually scored the penalty. You could see him lift another 10% if that was possible after what he'd already done. And I just think that the bloke played really well, and just give him, like you say, give him a run of games, providing we haven't got no injuries or anything, and see what else he can do.
That's the last time I sit behind you two. You're just going to slag me off.
No, we said they were talking about Lucas Akins, not Ollie Clarke. I've known it with you if you've talked about Ollie Clarke. Let's touch upon in a second the transfer window dealings. It's the first time us as a whole group have managed to talk about it. We did a little bit, Clive, didn't we, on for 10 minutes or so. But first, apparently my ditty was copyrighted blankety blank. So I'm going to go to the man who is the king of all the ditties to throw over to the Muppet on the screen. Alan Wilson, king of the ditties. Please do me a comments with Cam jingle, please. No pressure. Let's go.
Off you go, Cam.
Simple as
Brilliant.
that.
Oh, Tim in the comments says Oaks maybe. Oh, I've lost it. Oaks maybe.
Oh, come on, Cam. You've got one job.
Shh. Oaks maybe wasn't playing well, but he
did you
didn't get the
just shush me?
greatest of.
Did you just shush me?
No, I think you said shit.
Yellow card.
Oaks
Go on,
maybe
Cam.
wasn't playing his.
Oh.
For God's sake. Oaks maybe wasn't playing well, but he wasn't getting the greatest of service either. Kerry says, I'd like to see Hawkins up front and maybe give Gale more of a chance of starting. William says, we have the best depth of squad we've had under Clough. We should use our subs. It gives us a great advantage. Where else? Roger says, get Akins up front. Yes, do it. And then Craig Foster says, what a great ball from Akins into Lapsley as well for Maris's goal.
Well, there you go. Excellent bit of work there, Cam. We'll keep that up. Clive, you're next to do a jingle, so start thinking. Nathan, you've got to do one as well. Right, don't forget, we've got more away games coming up as well, including a trip to Colchester. Get the right graphic, Craig. You can tell I can't see the screen. I'm putting the wrong graphics on.
A trip to where?
What?
A trip to
What did I
where?
say?
Colchester.
Did I say Colchester, did I?
You did, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll pretend that didn't happen, shall we?
We're live, mate. Sorry.
Are we?
Live.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Away at... well, do you know what? I'm going to stop talking. Cam, go on.
Right then, so away trip to Gillingham. Don't forget you can book your...
nobody wants to listen to you. Away at Gillingham, we are, of course, a week on Saturday. AMA members are £20 on the bus. SSA Blue members are £25. And non-SSA members are £30. And to book your seat, all you need to do is...
07967 689 597.
That number again is...
07967 689 597.
And make sure you text or call the Trouble line. Please don't message on social media because it won't get answered. Right. Anyway, shall we move swiftly on? Transfer deadline business. Cam, you were one of the few, weren't you, that were up until midnight refreshing the Twitter feeds while the rest of the sensible ones were tucked up in bed, not bothered because we knew nothing was going to happen?
I blame Radio Nottingham for this because they said something was potentially in the pipeline. So I was like, right, well, it's worth. Also, I'm just curious to see who everybody else is signing more than I always stay up on deadline day, regardless of whether we're doing anything. Just.
Well, he does got about 5 clubs and he's Salford, Rotherham.
It's a busy day for him, isn't it?
Sheffield,
Really?
yeah.
Busy
So
day
to
for him,
be fair.
yeah. Busy day.
You're not funny. Anyway, so I was
Why
staying
were you
up and sarcastic laughs.
Go on, carry on.
But yeah, I just think it is a little bit disappointing that maybe we didn't bring somebody in for as cover for Oates, at least until Christmas. He might only be out for a month or so, 2 months. We don't know. Obviously, Nigel's not put a timeline on it, but it would have been nice maybe to just have that little bit of cover for him, because I think you look at the options up front, and we are a little bit sparse, in my opinion. I think we've got players, but I just don't think we've got necessarily the players that we need as such. I think obviously Will Swan and James Gale are great talents, both still young lads. I don't quite think throwing them into sort of like Rotherham, Doncaster, for example, is maybe the best thing. I think
He's getting confused, isn't he, bless him?
Poor lad.
I don't necessarily think that's a great thing, because I think it would have been difficult for them maybe to adapt to the occasion. I think whilst it's not a derby as such, it very much carries the atmosphere that it is, because of just the away crowd following. And yes, Swan did brilliantly against Stockport, but it's just a case of finding what players fit where. And I think Swan needs to possibly play alongside someone like Akins, but then who do you drop, and vice versa, and whatever. But then you've got Hawkins at the back, but then I think Clough said, if we could bring somebody in defence, then Hawkins could go up front and vice versa, or whatever. But it's just a typical Mansfield transfer deadline day, just a bit chaotic.
It's not a typical one. Just think what normally happens on deadline day. We get Richard Narty and the like, so it's probably a blessing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Did we get Nicky Josie on deadline
we did
day?
As well,
so you know,
and we were
it's probably a blessing,
because we thought it'd be a really good signing for us, and we ended up sponsoring him. We are never doing that.
What a waste of money that was.
I know. Never doing
that.
Where
is he now, anyway?
He's probably mowing some grass or something like. No offense to that mows grass, but you know.
Just on the point you made, Cam, against Stockport, our Mr. Swan was the be-all and end-all, and everybody was talking about the next big thing. Didn't even get on Saturday, and it was all Akins. So I think that just proves the depth of the squad that we've got, because like you say, we have got Hawkins, but I'd like to see Hawkins stay where he is, especially Saturday against Mr. Cook.
Hang on a minute, are you advocating Hawkins at centre-half now?
For Saturday, yeah, against Mr. Cook.
You changed your mind more than Nathan changed his mind about Ollie Clarke.
He's Mr. Put players in the right position.
Mr. Cook, can't he? Because we know Cookie is good in the air. So is Hawkins.
He shouldn't beat him for pace. I mean, he's not like Cook's quick, is it?
No, that's very true. It could be a very slow battle, couldn't it?
I'm tired just thinking about it.
I know. It's a very slow watch. Your opinions, Nathan, on the transfer deadline day dealings, because we did miss out 5 minutes before the window slammed shut. I hate using that phrase because it's not exactly slammed shut, because there's still a gap with other things. But yeah, it is cliche. You're right. Slight certain comment. Anyway, transfer deadline day dealings. We did miss out late on. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, literally, like I said a couple of minutes ago, it's initially you're disappointed knowing something was very close to being sorted, and we would have had an extra body in the in the squad, which hopefully would have been more helpful than not. But at the same time, everyone's already been talking about the strength of depth we've got. Yes, we've got a few injuries, but hopefully that's not going to be long term. And recently, our track record of deadline days seems to be a bit more of a panic buy, and it's actually not worked out in our favour. So that could have been the case again. So we, I think we've got a good enough squad to challenge this season, and I think as long as we don't lose any more and have a bit more of a crisis that we did have last year, we can get through. We're not going to win every game, but I think we've got enough in us to match it most or all teams in this league.
I can slowly see Clive tensing up and steam starting to come from him. I think he's ready to vent. Let's go.
Well, I just think you've got to remember this season, completely different to the previous year. I mean, we came into the summer this year with a much stronger retained squad, contracted players, and we therefore weren't under the same level of pressure to recruit. And I think you need to remind yourself this transfer window is all of the summer. It's not the last week of August. And so if all you're ever going to do is do your business on the last day, it seems to me a rather daft way of doing business. And I think we have to reflect on the fact we did do some business in the summer. A couple of loan players, keepers. We've got players now that I think it added value to an already strong squad. So I, for one, was not bothered about transfer deadline day. I went to bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Partly because I'm an old git, but partly because it just didn't appeal to me. And
It should finish before the start of the season, I think.
Well, there's an argument for that.
I think it did. Was it the full COVID season that it finished like the beginning of August? It was like after the first game, but
Yeah, is that because we started late though?
yeah, I don't know.
It's different timings this time
Yeah.
around, isn't it?
But also another thing to sort of point out is the fact that, yeah, you know, like you say there, Clive, you should probably do your business a little bit earlier. But just after you reach deadline day, we can still sign a player tomorrow. The window is not slammed shut. Slammed shut implies that it's over. You can't sign anyone else. You can sign free agents, and there are so many good free agents out there at the moment. And one of them is training with us in Theo Robinson.
Yeah.
Cam didn't know that, obviously. Cam clearly was
No.
He doesn't agree.
information and has not kept up, or he's not put that on his spreadsheet because he was looking at Salford.
It's an interesting one because we brought him in. Then it's the saying goes with the rest of the squad. Where do you fit him in if we've got everybody fit again? Would he come in as a short-term contract till Christmas and provide that cover for Oates that Clough was looking
like
at?
did.
Yeah, essentially, and obviously O'Toole stuck around, but and he's a great addition. But I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one. I'm not sure because, like we keep saying, we've got so much strength and depth in the squad, but it's a case of have we got everybody fit? No. Do we need to add another body? Yes, when they're not fit, but do we need them when everybody's fit? Is there any point in signing a player if then they're just going to sit on the bench when all our fit players do actually come back?
I think if I can just interrupt, one thing that's starkly different with modern football compared to the football I used to watch when I was a youngster is that players...
There's colour on TV?
Sorry, invented TV in those days.
In the
I used to
background.
watch it on radio. But the thing is, our players are super fit. They're overanalyzed. They wear...
I slightly disagree on super fit.
Well, they are physical specimens, if you want. But they're brittle. You know, they don't stand too much aggro. Back in the 70s, you didn't come off the field unless your leg was hanging off. And you still played the following game anyway when it's been bandaged up. I think the reality is that players do get injured because of the fine percentages they work within. And I think, therefore, you do need squad size to allow for that to happen. Nobody wants injuries, and you certainly don't want your best players to get injured, but that's sod's law. It'll happen. It's happened every season for the last 4 or 5 seasons. We've lost good players at the wrong time. And I think while we're talking about comparing this season with last season, we're 7 games in, and we've got how many points? 12?
You were asking me to do maths then.
Where were we
dangerous.
this time last year after the same number of games? We were hopeless. And why? Because we lost some key players at an inappropriate time. And they did panic last year in the window and came up with Mr. Narty and others. And I think you just have to avoid getting into that panic of buying the last tin of beans on the shelf simply because it's there.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Go on, Alan. Go on.
You mean Narty didn't come to the party?
Hey.
Go on, Clive. Top that with a jingle for Cam, please, if you would.
I can't.
I've got one.
I've got one as well, but
Wham bam, it's Cam.
Hey, brilliant. Richard in the comment says, "Hi guys, sorry for joining you late. Transfer deadline day. Lack of activity, but we could be a blessing in disguise, in my opinion. Too often we've got players in for the sake of it and end up putting players' noses out of joint. Too much emphasis is made on transfer deadline day." Roger says, "We still don't have a super striker like Cole Stockton. We'll be all right, but whether we will need it, whether we will go up is debatable. You need the X factor like Cambridge had in their strikers." Roy says Scott Sinclair is a free agent. Richard says in reply to Roger, super strikers are as rare as rocking horse doo-doo, and teams are unlikely to want to get rid of them easily. And Roy says, anybody know what happened to Jimmy Knowles? I can answer that. Injured.
Yes,
Injured.
I can answer that question. Jimmy Knowles still injured, got a 6 months contract. Nigel Clough, the last time he spoke about him, said he would be around October time-ish when he would potentially be in contention for some game time. So potentially the Grimsby game in the Stuffed Crust Cup, as Clive likes to call it, we might see him. Personally, I think he'd have to go on some journey between now and Christmas when his deal would be up to get another contract. But that's the latest I have on him.
Yeah, and that's back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Cam. You've been practicing that, haven't you? That one's been in your head for 45 minutes, hasn't it?
Very good, that.
I've run out of comments.
All right, well, keep them coming in because Nathan's sitting on what I'm told is an epic. Is it an epic?
It's an absolute banger, like Ollie Clarke.
Oh, for God's sake! Well, Nathan's sitting on that, so please get your comments in, and we'll throw to Cam later on in the show. Right, where were we? What should we talk about now? Should we talk? Go on, Alan. You've got something on the tip of your tongue.
Yes, I was just wondering. You said Cam might know. Can you remember, Cam? There was a goal scorer for Coventry, quite recent, who were banging the goals in for fun, because I do believe he's on the free transfer list. Can you think who it would be?
I
can't think
idea.
of his second name.
Do you know his
Has
first
he
name?
got like a female name?
Cynthia.
No. They had a player that had like a. Anyway, carry on. It obviously isn't that player.
I'll have a think,
The
Cam.
only
Sorry,
name
I
I've got
thought
in my
you
head
might
about-
know.
The only name I've got in my head about Coventry is Mark Robbins, but isn't the manager?
Nathan's
Well,
on about Jones.
Jones.
Jody Jones.
That's it, Jody.
Jody,
Yeah.
old Jody.
No,
I don't
Jody.
know. As far as I'm
I'll
aware,
have to
Tyler Walker's still on their books.
I think bring back
But-
CJ. You know, Blackpool don't really like him at the minute, so
I can't play a button to bring him home, so you know.
let me down.
Never bring them back.
What?
Cam,
no,
please never
I'll
do
do.
that again. On behalf of
Very
the
classy,
entire
yeah.
British and on behalf of everybody that's ever listened or ever will listen to this podcast, let's talk Bradford, shall we? Always a tough game against them, Nath. It'll be a physical battle, and the club put out earlier today over 7,000 tickets sold. So One Call Stadium will indeed be rocking. But as you know, with the old turnstiles this year, even though they've put lights in and it's getting better and all that, I think I'm going to set off after the show. So
I'll be after Nando's, mate. Don't worry. But no, we'll get around there in plenty of time. Everyone should do. But no, I'm looking forward to it. It's obviously they'll be bringing it. They've sold out completely, so you'd expect a noisy away end for a change. But it's good to see again numbers in the home stands looking pretty well. Hopefully we'll sell a few more between now and then. When you think the last few seasons, it was obviously we're on the wrong end of a 3-2 defeat. Last year, but it was a very highly entertaining game, and we should have got something out of it. And then obviously before, when I think back before COVID, we had that 3-0 win. Superb sort of atmosphere again in the stands. So let's hope we can pull a similar one out of the bag. I think Bradford had a bit of a slow start, but they seem to be coming good. So it's kind of two informed teams, but hopefully our home record will be what we need to sort of see us through over the line.
I'm looking forward to it, Clive, for the fact that it's going to be another big crowd. I think our players in particular, especially under Nigel Clough, thrive off a big atmosphere. The only thing that worries me now is the stereotypical journalism of we've got a cracking home form, we're looking forward to being at home, we don't fear anybody at home, that sort of thing, because it's setting us up for a little bit of a fall. I think we need to remember where that line is between confidence and arrogance.
Yeah, it's tempting not to brag about your form because it automatically means you're going to have a bad game. But I don't have any worries about playing at home. I think we've got all the assets we need, which is a small compact ground with a disproportionate and noisy crowd. And I think the fact that Bradford were always going to fill the away end, there's one of the 3 or 4 clubs in this league that will do that. That adds to it. We'll have a full house. I think we'll have a cracking game. Bradford are not a defensive side. They're going to come and attack. We know Cookie will score. If anybody's going to score, it'll be him. and if he doesn't, we've done our job. But I think Bradford signed nearly as many players as Nottingham Forest in this close season, so they churn a lot of players over. I'm not sure that's always a good thing.
You what?
They do that every window.
They do. To be fair, they do. Like they are a prolific, aren't they? Transfer window.
Yeah, and the point I'm making is I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
No, it does take.
And one of Nathan's best mates is at Bradford as well.
Yes, I was going to ask, is Lee Angle still there? I thought you'd still know. Are you looking forward to a reunion, Nath?
See, he's one that it wasn't reverse psychology; it was just useless. So,
only because he never proved you wrong. Only because he was out the door before he could prove you wrong.
Can I just add another ingredient to all this? The reason we're playing well at home and we started this season really strongly at home is I've moved my season ticket from the upper stand to the lower stand.
And I can't tell you how grateful I am.
Well, the players are, because they can hear my advice. They couldn't hear me when I was up next to you. So the form's improved. And Nigel keeps turning around asking my opinion on stuff.
That's not what I've heard.
I think that's what he's asking anyway.
Asking Andy Gardner who that annoying bloke is he? You won't mess with him, would you, to be fair? Alan Personnel for Bradford then at home. I know you're going to stick with the three names in the middle, but build me your ideal team, because we are in a situation at the minute. It's not a case of putting out our strongest 11. It's putting out an 11, which we'll come on to.
Well, I think it all depends when Nigel's done scrutinising the opposition, which way he goes. Whether he keeps the same team, providing there's no injuries, whether he keeps the same team and thinks, right, let's have another go at that, or whether he wants to change formation somehow and, counteract what they're going to do. I'm a big believer in let them worry about us. I would keep the same team unless there's any injuries, but we'll see what Nigel does Saturday.
Yeah,
interesting.
Certainly will. Cam, what would you be doing on Saturday afternoon if you were Nigel Clough? Because like we've sort of seen, we've got a few knocks and niggles. In fact, I'm not going to bother asking you what you do. What I am going to put to you instead is, are you concerned about the amount of knocks and niggles we've got and the bugs which seems to be going around? Jordan Bowery's had one recently. Elliot Hewitt was due to start, wasn't he? He was due to start at Doncaster. We lost Cam. We lost Cam. I'll put that to you, Nathan. Go on.
It's a difficult one because we were in a similar position last season, weren't we, at this time? And you kind of think, is it at that point? I just think it's bad luck, or is it? Or is it a coincidence? But at the moment, we're dealing with it a lot better. In some ways, maybe what we went through last year has actually helped us cope with it this time around. So, like I said, as long as we don't pick up any more, you can't really, bugs go around. We should know that after the last few years we've had. So you can't really do too much about that. But everything else, when it comes to sort of your muscular injuries, you can try and manage those better, and that's why we need to make full use of those 5 subs. We've got them this season. We've got a strong bench most of the time. So especially if we are, losing a few, like you mentioned earlier, if it means bringing 1 or 2 off, half time or early into the second half, do it, because we still got the strength on the bench to deal with that.
Now, Cam's either completely frozen, or he's got a concentration face on, or he's squeezing out a number 2. Are you there? Hello.
Internet.
Get that hamster back on the wheel.
Can you hear us?
I know. What's happening? It keeps going really bad, really good, really bad.
Well, sit still.
Away from.
Well, there you go. You never know. We'll wait and see. Right. I think we've just about got you. So before we probably properly lose you, Nathan, it's jingle time.
Well, this is Alan-esque. I can't believe he hasn't done it. But if you need another comment, just ask Cam.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's gone. No.
I can't blame him. My singing's awful.
Oh, no. But I think you should carry it on anyway.
That's it. We're done there.
Was that it?
If you want a stupid comment, just ask Cam.
There we go. He's improved it.
He has improved it, to be fair. I can't even go to him. Oh, he's just popped back up on the old Chat, is he there? Are you there? Come in.
I think I am.
Right.
Hello?
Did you hear Nathan's jingle?
No.
Nathan, go for it.
I'm gonna go for the collab with
Yeah.
Clive.
Well, you do your line first, then Clive can do his
Okay.
line. Yeah. And then what we might do is we might see if we can get around. Shall we? Yeah. Because I've got time to think about it.
This
Right.
is very frightening.
Isn't it? It's called ad
Quite
lib. Let's
CJ.
go. Go on.
Yeah. If you need another comment, just ask Cam.
If you want a stupid comment, just ask Cam.
Cam's the main man on the buttons.
I've now got a rhyme with buttons.
You might as well just
Buttons.
got orange in there.
Nando's, he's a glutton.
A gluten free.
We'll see you Saturday at 11:30. Be there if you can.
There you go.
He needs to queue earlier than that.
Oh no, he does need. I've got to try around with buttons now. Oh no, I've got it. No, I've got it. I've got to go with the old thing. Right, Nathan, go again.
Oh, for God's sake. If you need another comment, just ask Cam.
If you want a stupid comment, just ask Cam.
Cam's the man with the buttons.
But he acts like he's mutton.
And his name
I'd
rhymes with
sooner have
lamb.
mutton than lamb.
Cam, everybody, hey, comments
Thank
with
you.
Cam.
Thank you. Richard
Just not getting
says,
a podcast award.
Yeah. When were we ever going to get a podcast award? 6 series of this show we've done.
Hey, we're popular
6
in North.
series.
I know.
Yeah.
We're popular in Hong Kong, don't forget.
please, at the end of this,
I know they said North Korea by accident. I definitely won't be there. But
at the end of this season, someone please nominate us for a football content award, please.
yeah,
We put
clearly
so much
deserve
into
after
this.
that.
We deserve
Well, then
this.
we're going to have to get some football
Well,
content.
congratulations on absolutely making sure we don't get a nomination by begging for it. Is this how Evelyn was? No, we're not going to go there. Comments,
Ooh.
please.
Richard says, I agree with Alan and would keep the same side that did the job at Doncaster. Apparently, Jody Jones is at Oxford since July, not featured so far. That's from Adam. Roger also says, we have to be aware the Cookie Monster will be on the loose. Roger says, Craig, get ready. The team is pretty galvanized now. Tim says, not a lot rhymes with buttons, lol. Roger says, and Cam comes from Sutton. And Richard says, Cam's in the deepest, darkest realms of Rawmarsh, still living in the medieval times there. It's not that bad up here.
Does that go in with
I think that's referring to your
that's
Wi-Fi.
referring to your Wi-Fi. It's not
Yeah.
allowed in the song,
What-
sorry.
what-
We're not
wrong?
getting that in the song.
What's wrong with Sutton?
Yeah. I'm
Let's
from,
leave it
well,
at
my
that.
Nothing wrong
mum's
with
around
Sutton,
Cork,
Cam.
Mallet.
Is it
Yeah.
in Rawmarsh Youth Offenders Institution? do you get broadband in the institution?
It does look like he's in a cell, to be fair. I've been in that room. It is
Do you have
quite
to share
cell-like.
a cell?
Yeah, she's downstairs.
Oh,
Unfortunately, this is live.
Yeah.
And we can go and get it recorded.
I'll
You're
clip this
watching.
out and send it to her tomorrow. I'm looking forward to
Well,
that.
Anyway, predictions.
Yes. Thanks, Alan. Thanks a lot. Cam, I'm going to start with you. Bradford predictions, please. As always, I want an outcome, a scoreline, and the time of the first goal, please.
Ooh, 2-1 Stags win. And
Pick a number, come on.
Yeah, well, between 1 and 90, that helps, if it helps. Like bingo. Do you want me to get the bingo balls out?
16th.
Nathan, you're next.
2-1 win.
89.
45 plus 3. No, 21.
Clive, you're next.
3-1.
That win.
Yeah.
Confident.
22.
22. Ooh,
28.
tactics. Alan.
3-1 win. 18.
7. No. I will go for a 3-2 win. And I'm going to go for the 4th minute. If you want to get involved with podcast predictions, the link is in the description. And you must do what, Mr. Edge?
You must submit it via the link 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff.
Now, can we have a quick chat? Just me and you. We're not live. We've gone off. What's going on this year with your predictions? Because I'm top. Are you all right?
What's
Listen.
happening?
All right. You know, like the old Ollie Clarke trick and the whole, I forgot his name, left back. What's his name?
Macca.
There we go.
Are you even a fan? Do you even know this club? Do you know where you are? Are you all right? Do we need to pause?
But no, listen,
for you?
let me finish this. I felt bad, from absolutely smashing it last year. So it's all about a bit of reverse psychology. Got all you lot sort of feeling good about yourselves, and then when it actually matters later on in the season, I'm just gonna pick up my game a bit, and I'll come.
How do you think I feel? I'm not even in the top leaderboard every week.
Yeah, but that's expected from you. There's no shock there.
Very true. If you want to see the latest leaderboard, you can head to our website, mtfcmatters.co.uk. To keep it sort of mysterious this year, we're going to do it month by month, so nobody will know except me and a guy called Ben who does all the maths for us and everything. So appreciate that. It means that I'm not having to do it this year. Yeah, well, you say that, but look what happens when I'm not doing it. Suddenly I'm top. So,
How much paying him?
Yeah,
actually, we know you don't throw money around. Let's not kid that.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Actually, it's a very good point. Cam, any last comments? Any last things that you want to throw into the mix before we let you go back to your association time?
If you go into the game on Saturday, arrive at the gates at like 1:30, just so that you can get in.
It's sound advice, to be fair. It's sound advice. Well, it's been I think it's been quite an enjoyable one tonight. It's worked quite well. Cam's internet has just about held up. We've been in the same room together. We've all drunk a cup of tea and had some snacks and things like that. It's been quite enjoyable.
Should do it again one day.
Yeah, we should, but there's a bit of an issue with that because you're leaving us.
Well, yes, but not for a while yet.
I mean, this is devastating news to people of the podcast. The original member of the podcast team.
Well, I'm not leaving the podcast.
Oh, you're not?
Well, I thought it sounds like I'm being kicked out right now.
Oh,
never.
We'll have to stick with you for another season.
See how it is.
We'll keep you. Shall we keep him on board?
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll keep him on board.
Cheers, Clive. Oh.
And on that ridiculous note, thanks very much for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.
So there you go, another Mansfield Matters podcast over and done with. I hope you've enjoyed the little bit of a change in the way we've done it tonight. Got together in person. Let us know on social media whether you prefer us all being in the same room or whether you like the whole virtual stuff. We'll probably have to go back virtual at some point anyway when Nathan abandons the motherland. More on that another time, I'm sure. As always, make sure you get involved in podcast predictions. The link that you need is in the description. Remember, you must do it 1 hour and 1 minute before kick-off. And when you're entering, please make sure that you use your first name and your surname. The amount of Daves and Steves we have, trying to differentiate between the 3 or 4, it's becoming a bit of a nightmare. So make sure you use your right name so we can give you the points that you deserve. We'll be back on Sunday night at 7:30ish to recap the Bradford game and look ahead to our midweek fixture as well, where hopefully the Stags will have another 3 points on the board and continue to climb up the table. Good night.